invited you here today on the anniversary of your 35th profession so that you can share with us your thoughts about your life in the Institute.
Thank you.
Tell us, how has your consecration in the world shaped your life?
I believe that my consecration affects everything that I do in the world, whether I'm awake or asleep or wherever I am, whether I'm doing something great or whether I'm doing something that no one knows anything about. I think that being is much more important than doing. And certainly, as a consecrated being, I believe that my presence in the world lends a very positive aspect to that place in the world. And hopefully the world is a better place since I have had my consecrated person in that world. I think that the Institute, my consecration, to me is like an umbrella. And everything else goes under that umbrella. Whether I'm a secretary or a doctor or a teacher or whatever, I am first of all a consecrated person. I am first of all a missionary. And then I am one of these professional people.
I see. And what role does SIM plays in your life?
Well, I think I said that just a second ago. It's the all-encompassing aspect of my life. And it's what comes first, really. I mean, basically, I know that my baptism came first and my life as a Christian. But this is a very special way of living out that Christian life.
During the period that you have been with SIM, have you seen it change?
Oh, it's changed very much now. Not in the basics, but in the way we live out the basics, really. Because the world has changed and our place is in the world. Therefore, as the world changes, we have to change the marginal, so to speak, and the manner in which we live our consecration in order to make it relevant to that world. Otherwise, we would, at this point, look like little old ladies with lace collars. And we can't do that and still be a Christian influence. We don't have to take on all the things that are not Christian in the world, but we do have to be up to date.
Have the changes been affected by the years or also by the places? What I mean to say is, how is it different from the Institute in the United States from the one in Italy?
Well, basically we're Americans and they're Italians. Our mentality is different, our attitude is different. The manner in which we were raised or reared is different. I think that it's the changes that come from in the world and the changes that come from yourself as you mature as a person. Both of these, as I see it, work together.
And what is the legacy that you wish to leave SIM after 35 years of pioneering?
And that's rather interesting because I've never written this thing that all the Italians write, which is a spiritual will, so that so there's something wonderful to hand on to somebody else. I believe that each person writes that herself, but I see a very great place for the Institute in the future, and perhaps that is the legacy that I think needs to be left to the Institute. The world needs the concept of secular institutes very much, but we must have very strong Christians who are willing to sacrifice, who live a life very close to the Lord, if we're going to make a difference in the world, if there's really going to be a future for secular institutes. The world today is less Christian than it's been in our lifetime. I'm sure there was a time in the world before any one of us was around when the world might have been equally unchristian. But as we know the world, I think we're seeing it today as a very unchristian place. We need people who can relate to other people on what I call a peer basis. And yet, these people must be very strong Christians.
Do you feel that the role of SIM within the church is going to increase as time goes on?
How do you mean within the church?
That it will continue to grow in strength and in numbers, and it will become a larger force than it is now.
I don't think it will ever be a really large force if you're speaking in numbers. I think quality is more important than quantity. I do think, and the reason I say that is because our life is a hidden life, and therefore it's a difficult life. No one really recognizes us for what we are. They may have a glimmer of that which is different, but we don't get any credit for what we're doing here. Hopefully we're going to get it when we look the Lord square in the eye, but we're not getting it here, and that doesn't make it so enticing. It's much easier, I think, to go to Africa and save the heathens than it is to try to stretch your own budget and live a good Christian life.
Well, we really appreciate the time that you spent with us.
Thank you.
And the thoughts that you gave us.
Thank you. Now what?
Connie, we have invited you here today on the anniversary of your 35th profession, so that you can share with us some of your thoughts about your life in the Institute. Tell us, how has your consecration in the world shaped your life?
How has it shaped my life? Well, it has been my whole life. It's been the whole aim and purpose of my life since I did it the very first time 35 years ago. I've done everything with that in mind, and it's always in my mind.
Does that mean that the Institute has constituted a major force in your life?
Yes, it has. It constituted the Institute and my faith. The faith came first, of course, and my faith in the Catholic Church and the Institute, the two main forces in my life. I inherited a great faith from my parents, from my Irish parents. So,
where would you have gone with your life if you had never met anyone from the Institute, or the Institute would not have existed?
where would I have gone? I don't know. I think I would have maybe perhaps gone for a career, or gone into politics. I remember the time when I was deciding whether to work for politics or work for the church in my spare time, and I decided on the church, doing Catholic action work and things like that. It was a choice of either politics or that. I'm glad I took the church.
Does that mean then that the Institute actually shaped your life? To that
Yes,
extent?
from the time I've been in it, it shaped my life.
And what changes have you seen in the Institute in the past 35 years?
Well, I think changes I've seen in the Institute are very similar to the changes everyone has seen in the church. I mean, how should I say it? The church was a little bit more relaxed, shall I say, in some places I think too relaxed. But I think it could be. But in others, it's been very good. The relaxation has been very good. In other ways, I think it hasn't been. I don't think sometimes the faith is quite as strong. People don't take as much, take it as seriously, I think, as they used to. It's more what I want to do now rather than what God wants me to do or what God wants. It's more what I want.
So those changes have also affected the Institute.
I think so. I think so. I think some of the, I think I can see some people where they think more that, it's, as I say, what I want, and that comes first, rather than God and the church.
Among the changes that you have seen, I'm sure are the changes that relate to the increased number of missionaries throughout the world. Has that also caused changes in the Institute itself?
Well, throughout the world?
I was thinking mostly in the difference between the Institute as it originally was created in Italy and as it extended into other countries.
Oh, well, surely. Anything that's strictly local and then becomes bigger and becomes international is a great deal of change in that. It is international. The Institute was, from the very beginning, was very good about not imposing on the other people, particularly the Americans, since they were the first to come outside of Italy, imposing their way very strictly on them. They let us do things the American way. For instance, Italians never wore lipstick or something like, makeup, and they didn't object at all to our doing that, or wearing jewelry. They didn't wear very much jewelry when we came in and things like that. They'd say the Americans do it, you do what you're supposed to do.
What is the legacy that you wish to leave SIM after 35 years in it? And being one of the pioneers?
Well, I would like to leave a very strong love for the Institute, and hope that others take it, seriously, and see how much it means, and how much it means to the church, and really how much it means to them. I don't always think younger people coming in, I shouldn't say younger, but I mean new people coming in, think of it in that sense, that it means a great deal to them, and they should be much conscious of this.
What do you see in the future for SIM? What role do you see for SIM in the church and in the Christian world?
Well, I think I see a very strong role for it in the way things are going. I mean, there's so many, the breakdown of family life. I think eventually single women particularly, are going to want something. There's a great many people who want something, want to dedicate their lives, don't know at the moment how to do it. And I think it should give women a more stronger feeling of helping the church, of helping God, and of helping themselves, that they have a place in the church and in the world, and they have something to do something that God wants them to do. It's a real purpose in their life. It should be a real purpose in their life. It does take that place.
Is there anything that you don't see happening in SIM now and you would like to see in the future?
I can't say that I do at the moment. As I say, of course, always I'd like to see an increase with vocations and more people, and spread a little bit more in the United States. I would like to see that, which eventually will come, I'm sure.
Would you like to say anything else about your 35 years?
Just that my 35 years have been very happy. They've had their ups, they've had their downs, and I've been very happy in the Institute, and I hope that just someday I can fulfill my purpose for which I've been put on earth.
Ruth, we have invited you here today on the anniversary of your 35th profession so that you can share with us some of your thoughts about your life in the Institute. Tell us how your consecration in the world shaped your life.
That's kind of a big order, but I'll try to capture a few thoughts from the past. How consecration has affected my life. That's your question, is it not?
Yes, it is.
It's made it a very full life, a very beautiful life, actually. I think for all of us in the Institute that the ups and downs of life, whether consecrated or not, are always still there. There are disappointments, there are illnesses, there are family situations in which we impact the family in trying to carry out our mission. And I would like to feel that in the last many years, first as a nursing instructor, and then later in hospital and School of Nursing Administration, that there's been a one-to-one with many individuals, and that God's grace has come to them possibly through a conduit from my own consecration. But I've always wanted a consecrated life, and 7 years before the Institute began, when I first started searching.
What would you have done if you had not known about the Institute, or the Institute did not exist?
I really can't answer that. I reflected on it because I had a clue. But I have always wanted a consecrated life, and I did certainly do some searching prior to finding out about the Institute. And it was my friendship with Stella that brought it right to the actuality in 1950. Prior to that, I had been a student in nursing at Camp University, and had met Stella socially first, community breakfast of all things. And through that friendship, I then later came to Detroit. It was while we were in Detroit that we found out about the Institute. And of course, I had planned to go to Europe with her on a famous first trip in 1950, but was unable to do that. And yet, while she was being received as a Franciscan in the Third Order in Porcianca, I was at home writing to her that this was the greatest thing ever, and attempted to then live the Third Order life as much as I could. And when she came back, she had something that she knew something about, but she didn't know all about. And from there on, the journey, took a very positive thrust for me. And what I would have done without the Institute, I had tried to investigate other possibilities, actually religious institutes, just by inquiring, but had been turned down on a health basis because they didn't think I'd last through the novitiate. And here I am now, 35 years later. So God didn't ask that of me, and I don't know what I would have done. I would have tried, I think, to follow His will. I possibly would have considered marriage. So it was during the Second World War, of course, prior to that I was searching.
These years that you have been with the Institute, and how have you seen it change? Compared from the prior to the Vatican II and compared to after Vatican II?
Well, it has changed, and it will continue to change, I'm sure, in the times ahead, because I think we have attempted to live our missionary lives in the context, certainly in the context of the church, and I never really found a great division. It was always an evolving growth going from Vatican I to Vatican II. I talked with people who had found the impact of that very prominent in their lives. And yet I think with the formation that we had in the Institute, with the study courses that we had, and the attempts on a daily basis to live day by day, and I think that I have a better grasp on that today than I had many years ago. But in the beginning, someone asked me one time if we really knew where we were going. And I responded that no, I didn't feel that we did, but we knew that it was God's way and that He wanted something of us. And we had an excitement. I think, that went along with the trials of being, I was the youngest. I was 29 at the time that I entered the Institute, and we, the four of us lived together, and there was the warp and woof of community life in a sense, even though we prayed individually. Well, for the most part, we developed certainly the habit of praying the rosary together in the car, and some of that was in order to use time well. The changes I see today, I think it's still exciting, and I think it still has great promise for the future. And I recently was exposed to some comments made by, I'm not really putting a plug in for her, but for Monica Hellwig at Georgetown University, and she spoke of 5 positive things in the world today and in our American culture that are signs of hope. And she was doing that in a rebuttal to someone else who had been less optimistic. But I'm optimistic because I love the Institute, and I feel that sure, there's going to be hills and valleys, and we live through those, and there's going to be new ideas. But I feel that the future of the Institute, I think, is assured, because God is the reason we exist, and He's not going to shortchange us.
And what role do you think the Institute, in the American branch of the Institute, has in the life of the entire Institute?
What role does it have? I think it looks to this country first, and then I think it has a global view. It's an integral part of the Institute. Internationalist, if we want to say that. I think we've already not penetrated, but really have impacted some of the professions: lawyers, nurses, doctors, clerks, bookkeepers. I think the message that was left with us from Armida and from Father Gemelli, particularly from Armida, to live your life where God places you and then impact, and do it. It will be done in little ways. I don't think. I was just about to say I didn't think that any of our missionaries are going to be president of the United States tomorrow, but that's not an impossibility even. And I'm thinking of the woman issue, But I have a lot of hope, and I have hope because I see those of you in your generation of missionaries coming along and loving God and moving ahead to have union with God, despite your own irascible peculiarities, if you have them, and I know I have them. But no, I'm very hopeful, and I see us impacting other cultures. I see us. We need to get into the Spanish in this country. We need to be working with blacks and finding blacks for our institute, and not just because of that, because it's good persons you're looking for.
As one of the pioneers, what is the legacy that you wish to leave as SIM?
Oh my. Well, I guess I would say, I guess when we say legacy, my first thought is, well, love of God. You know, without Him we can't do anything, whether it's materialistic or technological or what all. But I think love of the Institute is probably what I would come across with. And those two, of course, intertwine. And I guess if you were to convert your question into something like sage thoughts that one was going to leave, then I would say a lot of trust in God and in each other, and attempting to accept each other. And that means with all of what one priest I know has called all the warts and all the barnacles. And the barnacles appeals to me because they're who are exterior, and they're also abundant up on the New England coast. But none of us are perfect, and if we could just hope for growth and work for growth and live it day by day,
Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about your experiences? Final thoughts?
Well, I don't know. No, I think I'd just like to wish all the aspirants to the future, including yourself, Kelly, the very, very best. A full life, a life with the usual ups and downs, but there is richness in God's family and in the church. And yes, I see, in a sense of mantled by a lady and mantled by the church, and that we need to be at one with the church.
We really thank you for spending this time with us and for sharing your thoughts.
It's really been a joy. Thank you.